2 new surveys this year. So we looked at 4 in total. And I think that we have to look at that group of 22 and say that at the time that these were written and at the time that they're presented, probably nobody in this room, except for those that were on the team, know more about communication than these individuals. And so what I'm recommending is that we actually take the recommendation from the communication team, not the reversal of the core team, and with the exception of a couple of wording changes. So if everyone will look at it, end result number 3, we reword it to read, explore the expansion of the district's utilization of the automated outbound phone communication system, utilizing the research found in ERS number 1, end result statement number 1. The communication that takes place up in ERS number 1 did not get very specific, although there were a lot of great ideas that were presented to the communication group, as a whole. We decided that we were not going to go into the operations and actually specify what gets used where and all this kind of stuff. So with that being said, we looked at the automated outbound system that we currently use for emergency purposes only, and truly not really for emergency purposes. We use it for school closings. We've used it, I think, once in 2 years. We've had a number of incidents that quite possibly it could have been used for, and in discussions with administration, I think we agreed that a more expanded use almost immediately, while this other study is being conducted, would make sense for the community. So I don't know if anyone else wants to say anything about that.
Yeah, I'll weigh in on this. This is a format issue. We've done this different ways. Okay, if you look back at our, as Rick said, it's not that this is a bad idea. The issue is that this is a freestanding plan that should be connected to this first plan because it should be embedded with whatever research you do and this kind of thing. And if some of you may recall that when we did the first round of action planning, we had a number of plans that were cross-referenced with other plans because either they came from a different team that came up with the same idea, but we only wanted one plan to implement. So you can do it both ways. You can either make this a step within plan number 1. You can do Mark's modifications. I think that's fine too. But I think leaving it, I think the core team was right to point this out, that it's got to be related to this first plan. That it shouldn't, and also it shouldn't be a foregone conclusion that it will be expanded. So I think, what did you say, Mark, on that? Could you read that again?
Explore the expansion of the district's utilization of the automated outbound phone communication system, utilizing the research found under end result statement number 1. And I think that, just to piggyback on something that Mark mentioned, just about everything in our entire action plan could really fall under end result number 1. So there were some things that we had to expand and take outside the realm of, because even the an integrated electronic information system could really fall under ERS number 1. So if we were to really look at it from a roll-up standpoint, we probably, if that was our task, we would have cut this down to probably a meeting and a half, and presented one end result statement. And I think that in conversations, it's been viewed that there are some good things that can come out of the expansion of the phone utilization almost immediately. I mean, in the case of measles or chicken pox, an automated phone message may go home and say, your child's bringing home a note today, please ensure that you read it, because as some people are aware with Friday packets, sometimes those notes don't make their way home, or sometimes a parent may not look at it right away, where, just about, and I don't want to speak for 100%, but just about everyone would typically receive a phone message of some sort.
So here's what I'm uncomfortable with.
Okay.
We met as a core team and we went through these items, and in my mind, we're very careful to gain consensus at that meeting. And Mark, you were part of that meeting.
No,
So
go on.
I'm sorry?
Go on.
So I guess the dilemma that I have is the proposed change that you're making now, if you had made it at that meeting, and then the recommendation of the team were to go with that proposed wording, I would feel a lot better about it. I feel uncomfortable in that the core team, again, of which you were part, and had an opportunity
Go on.
to propose the change, reach consensus that this was our recommendation, and now we're kind of going against that consensus. And again, you were asked, you're okay with it, you said you're okay, so.
No, I really didn't. I really didn't.
Yeah.
Here's the deal, because I was at the core team meeting. I was really hoping we wouldn't go there, but we can. The core team, that whole process is set up where it really doesn't explore individualism. If you recall, back in October of last year, when I brought up the whole idea of communication in the first place, we had the vendor actually believe that I was threatening the group by almost insisting that communication be included, which I found comical because when you think about his invoice, it would probably pay for a year's worth of these phone calls. So that whole process is really not set up for individualism. It's really set up for go along with the group. And you know, when it came time for that, and that was kind of crossed off, I really didn't say much. I kind of put my head down. I didn't go along with it. I didn't vote aye. I can understand your concern with going against the core team, but the 12, because if you recall, there were about 25 people in the room. They were split into two different groups, so a group of 12 actually went over this. And the way I look at it is those 12 didn't have any issue with going against the 22 in the communication group. So that being said, I don't think that the 7 here, would have an issue with going against the core team on this particular one.
Well, the board.
I've spoken with Mark on this, and I don't know if you want to weigh in further with your thoughts from the other day, but about the possible use of this, where you could see it fit almost immediately before any of these other steps come in.
I'm confused here. I have, the communication action team is saying to strike number 3.
No, the core
core
But
team.
then I have frequently, maybe here, explore your step number 3.
No, step,
That's not here.
end result number 3
Right.
was
The
deleted.
new wording has not been rolled out.
No,
Oh, I
the
thought
new
you were
word,
referring to
so the new
something here.
wording
Okay.
is presented tonight for the first time. The new wording was
That's not anywhere
and that's my
in here,
concern,
though.
is that,
Okay.
the idea of changing the wording of end result number 3 was never proposed at the meeting.
Okay.
I have a different perspective in terms of the consensus. My feeling was that, I think that the facilitator was very careful to try to ensure that across the board, every individual was okay, not that they necessarily loved everything, but they were okay, they supported leaving the meeting. That was said on more than one occasion. So, if it's not brought up, but someone, feels that we didn't reach consensus, again, it's not
I don't know what to
my
tell you. I
perspective.
guess,
If I could interject, please.
Certainly.
I mean, I think we could probably continue the conversation and talk about the way that the core team functions and its purpose and the mechanics of it all, but I don't know that that's necessarily going to get us to where you are proposing this evening. I guess, for me, the way I look at it as, exactly as you said, there was an action team that was created. The action team did the work, brought a recommendation to the core. The core, in whatever capacity it is presently defined, made some changes. And now we are at the board level.
Right.
So the board has a responsibility to either accept what is here, or as Mark pointed out, change it.
May modify it.
Modify it, and Mark is proposing that we take a certain direction in modifying it. So to me, it seems like the question we have to grapple with as board members are do we feel comfortable with taking that responsibility on our shoulders to say that we would basically override what the core team said,
Right.
and take the recommendation that's being brought